What's happening? Happy hump day to you and yours. Thanks for joining us. As always, it is very much appreciated. Everything Pats, a New England Patriots podcast with you on this lovely day. I want to start with the offense. Are we in store for a surprise approach from this Patriots offense, from this Patriots offensive staff? When you think about the Patriots, you have the visions of Drake Maye, the shiny young quarterback toy, so to speak. The idea that Drake Maye is going to take that next step, the next step that is necessary. It might not be a gigantic breakthrough for Drake Maye in year two, but we certainly expect him to be better. We certainly expect him to develop more skills, take more care of the football. Year number two for Drake Maye is huge. So I think a lot of people, when we talk about the Patriots offense, when we envision the Patriots offense out there in 2025, you start with Drake Maye because he's the immediate go-to. He's the quarterback. And he's exciting. Watching him play was refreshing last year after watching Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi and Jacoby Brissett and Cam Newton. It was refreshing to see the flashes from Drake Maye. And you fall in love with those flashes and you say to yourself, they have a legitimate quarterback. They have a great opportunity to have a franchise quarterback for the next decade with this guy. Now, I don't think it's a guarantee. I like the chances of Drake Maye becoming that guy, but you start talking about this offense just like you start to talk about so many offenses in football. You start with the quarterback, and then you think about what this team has added during this offseason. Stephon Diggs, the type of receiver that we've been craving for the Patriots to add to a roster. He's now in town. So you got Diggs. Then you draft Kyle Williams. And I think a lot of people are salivating to see Kyle Williams out there on the field in the playmaking ability, the explosiveness. You draft Travion Henderson, playmaking ability, explosiveness, making plays downfield at times against linebackers. Very good receiving back. You add Mac Hollins, red zone threat, big-bodied receiver on the outside. Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper. You hope that the young guys from last year can develop and get better. So we look at this offense, and I think a lot of us start with throwing the football. Drake Maye, those receiving weapons, the improvement in the wide receiver room, fingers crossed for 2025. We start thinking about throwing the football. We start thinking about Drake Maye in the pocket, ripping it 35 times. But I am here to tell you, get ready for the Patriots to run the football in 2025. And not only get ready for the Patriots to run the football in 2025, get ready for the Patriots to run the football a ton in 2025. Why? Let's start with the history. I went back. I did some research, some digging. Let's start with Josh McDaniels. New OC, once the old OC, now again the OC. Let's look at Josh McDaniels as the primary play caller in the full seasons of the last 5 years. I'm not counting 2023 because he coached halfway through and got fired by Vegas. Josh McDaniels' last 5 full seasons as the play caller. Look at the running game. Look at what McDaniels called. You go back to 2018, the Patriots. They shifted during that year to a run-first offense because their passing game wasn't good. Even though they had the greatest of all time, it still wasn't good. So they transitioned to a run game first type offense. In 2018, the Patriots were 3rd in the NFL in rushing attempts. They were 17th in yards per carry. In 2019, with Josh McDaniels, the Patriots were 9th in the NFL in rushing attempts, 25th in yards per carry. So even though they were not ripping off chunks of yardage, yards per carry wise, the Patriots were still 3rd and 9th, respectively, in run attempts in 18 and 19. In 2020, the Patriots were 3rd again in rushing attempts. They were 8th in yards per carry. In 2021, they were 8th in rushing attempts, 11th in yards per carry. And finally, McDaniels' first year in Vegas as the head coach, primary play caller, Vegas was 12th in the NFL in rushing attempts, 6th in yards per carry. So when you look at it in totality, Josh McDaniels, last 5 full seasons as a play caller, you know what we've got here just by listening to what I just mentioned. He runs the football a ton. His offense runs the football. 4 out of the last 5 seasons as the primary play caller, Out of those full seasons, 4 out of the last 5 years, a Josh McDaniels offense was in the top 10 in rushing attempts. Josh McDaniels loves to run the football, but it's not just McDaniels. It's also Mike Vrabel. We'll get to that in a minute. The Patriots ran the ball. The Raiders ran the ball a ton, even if they weren't getting 5-6 yards a carry, even if they weren't in the top 5, top 10 in yards per carry. 2 of the 5 seasons where McDaniels called for a bunch of run plays as a primary play caller, his offense was 17th or worst in yards per carry. So it's not as if, okay, we're ripping off chunks of yards, so we're going to run the ball a ton. It's a philosophy. McDaniels runs the football, whether you're getting a big yards per carry number or you're not getting a big yards per carry number. In 22, Vegas was 6th in yards per carry. Patriots in 19 were 25th. It didn't matter. McDaniels actually ran the football more with the 2019 Pats, even though they were less successful per carry than he ran the football with Vegas in 2022. Josh McDaniels loves to run the football. Now let's get to Mike Vrabel. I did the same thing with Vrabel. I went back through Mike Vrabel's years in Tennessee, and I looked at his offense, and I looked at how much did the Titans run the football? How successful were they when they ran the football? 2018 was Mike Vrabel's first season as the Titans head coach. They were 9th in rushing attempts, 13th in yards per carry. In his second season, they were 10th in rushing attempts, 2nd in yards per carry. In 2020, there was only one football team in the entire NFL that ran the ball more than Tennessee. Not only did they have the second most rushing attempts in 2020, they actually had the second best yards per carry mark. Their running game was dominant in 2020 down in Tennessee. In 2021, it's as if Mike Vrabel and the coaching staff looked at what they did in 2020 and they said, oh, we're going to do even more of it, because they went from the second most rushing attempts in the league in 2020 to the most rushing attempts in the entire NFL in 21. They were number 1 in running attempts. They were 10th in yards per carry. Let's wrap it up. In 2022, Mike Vrabel's team was 11th in rushing attempts, 16th in yards per carry. And finally, in 2023, they were 20th in run attempts, 14th in yards per carry. So Josh McDaniels, we've established, loves running the football. Whether you're successful at it or not, he's going to run the football a lot. He's going to force the defense to play the run. He wants the defense to understand they have to try to limit or eliminate the run game. And he wants that to be one of the top priorities of a defense. He wants them to get them thinking of, we've got to stop the run. We've got to stop the run. They're going to run the ball. Mike Vrabel, same way. In 4 of Mike Vrabel's 6 seasons in Tennessee, the Titans were top 10 in rushing attempts. One of the years that wasn't top 10 was 11th. Tennessee ran the football a ton. Every single year of Mike Vrabel's Tennessee career, Tennessee was in the top half of the NFL in yards per carry. Every single year. So as we talk about Drake Maye, and we talk about Maye's improvement, his development, in the hopes that he's going to show himself to be even more of a franchise quarterback in 2025. And we certainly expect him to have more responsibility in 2025. We have to understand that fundamentally, the offensive coordinator and the head coach fundamentally, philosophically believe in the run game. And they are going to run the football a bunch. That would be my expectation. I have more thoughts, more observations, more research. Before I get to it, don't forget to help a brother out on this hump day. Give us a like. Press that thumbs up as you watch on the live stream. More likes helps us with that algorithm, helps us bring more people to the family. So don't forget to like. Don't forget to throw a comment in. Love those comments. Burley Sullivan jumps in and says, could explain why they wanted Garrett Bradbury. Dude can run block. Yes, Garrett Bradbury, one of the better run blocking centers in football. Not so much when it comes to pass protection. But yes, that could be a part of it. Look at Tom saying hello from Austria. Love it. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. And don't forget to subscribe. The next goal that we're hitting is 7,000. 7,000 subscribers is the next goal. I want that done. I'm hoping for that to be done by mandatory minicamp, which is about a month away. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Also, Spotify, Apple Pods, friends. Don't forget to rate, review, and throw a comment in as well. So let's get back to this idea of the Patriots and why they're going to run the football a ton, even though Drake Maye is the most promising quarterback they've had since Tom Brady. The history of McDaniels, the history of Vrabel, just stated it. It's unequivocally a fact. Both guys love to run the ball. That's what their coaching careers tell us. But let's look at the team. The running back room for the Patriots is good, isn't it? I don't know if I'd say it's great, but I would absolutely say that the Patriots running back is at least good. Ramondre Stevenson, as long as he takes care of the football, is a good NFL running back. Antonio Gibson, I think, is a good NFL running back. In Travion Henderson, you are not picking Travion Henderson with a top 40 pick unless the Patriots believe, unless they think that he is going to be a legitimate threat on the field and that he's going to be good, if not very good, at that position. So Stevenson, Henderson, Gibson, right now on paper, that's what you have in that running back room. You've got to feel good. It's a good, fun group. Stevenson, downhill, duo kind of running back, a guy that's going to run through contact, tough to take down, good in the red zone, all those things. Antonio Gibson gives you some run, gives you some receiving. And then you've got Henderson, who is the explosive element and who we're all excited. We're all excited to see play in 2025. So you've got McDaniels and Vrabel's history. You have a good running back room. You also have Drake Maye, who not only is he the most promising quarterback the Patriots have had since Tom Brady, he's also super athletic for his size. Now, he's not Lamar Jackson. I don't even think he's as athletic as Josh Allen, but he is an athletic quarterback. And we know, we've heard, Josh McDaniels is curtailing his offense to what Drake Maye does best. And I just have to imagine, maybe I end up being wrong, but I have to imagine that Josh McDaniels has plenty of designed run calls within this offense for Maye. So not only do you have a running back room that's fun, that now has explosiveness with Travion Henderson, a good running back group, maybe ends up being really good depending on how Travion plays in his rookie season. Not only do you have that running back group, you also have a quarterback that can run. And McDaniels is going to take advantage of that. So head coach, offensive coordinator, philosophically, they run the football a lot. Good running back room, drafted a running back in the top 40, quarterback that can run the football. They're going to run a lot. They're going to run a lot. And the run, we always talk about running the football. We also bring in the idea of play action. And Josh McDaniels loves his play action. The play action passes, they open up the seams downfield for the tight ends, for the slot receivers. They also open up the outside. The verticality of this offense should be better with the additions of Diggs and Williams and Hollins. So the play action off the run game, it all marries together. That's the idea of a Josh McDaniels offense. He will lean in on the play action. He will lean in on some of the quarterback run design. He will lean into a lot of run game. Now, here's the thing. Adam jumps in, says, dude, run a lot with a couple explosive receivers. Kidding me. Here's the thing. The Patriots should run the football a lot in 2025. You want to know why? It's pretty simple. Teams that run the football win a lot of football games. We fall in love with this idea, and I'm guilty of it as well. My first break in Boston radio was hosting a fantasy football show on Sunday mornings before the Patriots pregame on 98.5. I am as guilty as anybody. I've played fantasy football for more than 20 years. I love fantasy football. But we have this idea of how football has really evolved into a throwing game because we romanticize the games where the quarterbacks throw 45 times for 400 yards and the receivers go off and the quarterback has a ton of stats. There's no doubt that the NFL throws the football now more than really ever. There's no doubting that. But it's not just about throwing the football. And that's where we get it twisted. We fall in love with the fantasy production. We fall in love with the big plays downfield. We've always loved the quarterback position. But running the football is still fundamental to a team's success. And I have the evidence of this. Let me take you back to last year. Here were the teams that were in the top 10 of rushing attempts. Because again, if you look back to Josh McDaniels, you look back to Mike Vrabel, their history as OC and head coach, they ran the football a lot of times in the top 10 in rushing attempts. Here were the top 10 teams last year in rushing attempts. Think about it as I mention each team. The Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens, the Detroit Lions, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Green Bay Packers, the Washington Commanders, the Indianapolis Colts, the Atlanta Falcons, the Buffalo Bills, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those teams were top 10 in rushing attempts. When you take all of those teams, I've got some stats for you. Eight of the top 10 teams in rushing attempts last year made the playoffs. 80%. If you are a top 10 rushing attempt team in the league last year, you had an 80% shot of making the playoffs. Not too shabby, right? I've got more. Three of the 4 teams that were in the championship games last year were in the top 10 in rushing attempts. Kansas City was the only team that made it to a championship game and obviously made it to the Super Bowl without being in the top 10 in rushing attempts. 3 of the top 4, 75% of your championship game field were in the top 10 in rushing attempts. The combined record, if you take all 10 of those teams that I just mentioned, the combined record of the 10 teams that ran the most last year was 113 and 57. 113 wins and 57 losses. That is a .664 winning percentage. They won a lot of football games. They made the playoffs. 3 of the 4 championship game teams ran the football. Who was number 1 in the NFL in rushing attempts last year? The Philadelphia Eagles. Did they not just go on a dominant Super Bowl run, finishing 14-3 in the regular season and making it look easy in the postseason? They were number 1 in rushing attempts, led by that offensive line and Saquon Barkley. So you run the football, you succeed last year. Each team that missed the playoffs, by the way, the 2 teams that missed the playoffs, the Colts and the Falcons, those were the 2 teams, top 10 rushing attempts, that did not make the playoffs. Both of those teams finished at 8-9. So even though they didn't make the playoffs, they were still competitive. They had a chance to make the playoffs. They finished the year at 8-9. If you go by 2025, you run the football a lot. Your offense is going to be good. Your team is going to be good. You're going to win a lot of games. You're going to make the playoffs. And you could even make the championship game, if not the Super Bowl. If you go off of last year, if last year is an indication as to what to expect in 2025. So you put all of that together, and I'm here to tell you, the Patriots are going to run the crap out of the football in 2025. And given the success of those teams last year, they should run the crap out of the football in 2025. All right, I want to talk about one more thing because a lot of people have been asking me, Nick, can you address some of the undrafted free agents? So I want to jump into some of the undrafted free agents, go through what they've done, go through why I think they could make an impact on this team. Not every single UDFA is going to make an impact. The vast majority of these guys don't make the team. Some of them make the practice squad, even less actually make the roster, the 53-man. But I start with Lan Larison, who is a running back out of UC Davis. Now, interestingly enough, Mike Reese wrote about Larison this past weekend. Larison has one of the richest deals for UDFAs. He signed for $175,000 in guaranteed money. And as Reese points out, that reflects how the Patriots likely had competition to sign Larison. He's not making 175 G's guaranteed unless he's able to leverage one team against another. So that should tell us that Lan Larison is one of these undrafted free agents that could easily make the football team out of the guys that have been brought in. He's a dual threat, 3,600 plus rushing yards, 1,600 plus receiving yards at UC Davis, and he fits the Josh McDaniels offense. I like to compare guys that get brought in to prior guys within the McDaniels offense. I love doing that because I think it gives us an idea as to how that player could be utilized, what the team is thinking when they bring that player in, and compare Larison, who's 6 foot 215, to Rex Burkhead. Rex Burkhead was 5'10", 215. Larison is 6 foot 215. Almost the same exact size football player. And they have a very similar game. So if you're wondering about what Larison could do, who he could be, just picture Rex Burkhead. Because that's really the kind of back that I think McDaniels envisions when he looks at Lan Larison. So that's one guy. Let's jump to somebody else. This ain't going to be sexy, but I want to talk about Brock Lamp. Brock Lamp is a fullback, played for Northern Illinois. Now, why am I talking about Brock Lamp? It's because Brock Lamp is a perfect morph between a Mike Vrabel player and a Josh McDaniels player. Lamp at NIU played two positions. He played both sides of the football, not as gloriously as Travis Hunter, but Brock Lamp played both fullback and linebacker. Are you telling me that Mike Vrabel doesn't love a guy who plays fullback and linebacker? Can't you just envision Vrabel falling in love with this dude? Like, wait a minute. He not only played fullback, but he also played linebacker? What? Sign me up. What's his name? Brock. Oh, his name's Brock? Yep, bring him in. And, of course, we know that Josh McDaniels loves the fullback within his offense. Always has a fullback in his offense. And you have to imagine he wants a fullback in his offense. Now, maybe McDaniels looks at Jaheim Bell and says, we can mess around and we can play Jaheim Bell in the backfield as a fullback, that versatility, the athleticism. Maybe he sees it. Maybe he has another tight end fullback option that he's thinking of. We'll get into one possible tight end option in a minute. But Brock Lamp, fullback, linebacker, Northern Illinois, he just screams to me one of those Patriot throwback fullback guys. I would not be surprised whatsoever if he made the roster. Let's jump to somebody else. Let's get to that tight end. C.J. Dupree, tight end, Alabama. And yes, Dupree was done on purpose if you're a wrestling fan. C.J. Dupree, Alabama tight end. Now, what's interesting about Dupree is Dane Brugler actually thought he was going to get drafted. Dane Brugler had a 5th/6th round grade on Dupree. So Brugler thought this guy was going to get drafted maybe as high as the 5th round, and you get him as an undrafted free agent. So just value-wise, you win. You win by getting Dupree, a guy who could have gone in the 5th or 6th round. You get him as a UDFA. That's a win. But then we look at his athleticism. Sneaky athletic. 8.72 RAS, relative athletic score. So he brings plenty of athleticism to the tight end position. Dupree can also bring versatility. Dupree lines up in line as a tight end, traditionally, the old traditional style. But he also can line up outside. He can also line up in the slot. So you've got C.J. Dupree, who was underutilized at Alabama because of the offense and because of the focus on wide receiver position and Jalen Milroe and all that stuff. He was underutilized at Alabama. If he played at a school that threw the football more to the tight end, I think his stats would have been better, and he probably gets drafted. But his talent, a lot of people would tell you, including Dane Brugler, enough talent to be drafted in the 5th or 6th round, an athletic guy. He can play inline. He can play outside. He can play in the slot. We know Josh McDaniels loves moving around his tight ends. We saw it. We saw it all the time with him. And Dupree has the ability, has the athleticism to move around on that line of scrimmage. So he fits the mold of a pretty athletic, versatile tight end. He also blocks pretty well. Now, Brugler says that he can finish better at times, and we always know that Mike Vrabel loves the finish and the effort. But Dupree is not a zero blocking, far from it. So versatile, where he can line up on a line of scrimmage. Good athleticism, good blocker, and he has special teams experience. CJ Dipper could easily make this football team. Let's talk about somebody who played locally. Jack Conley is somebody else, offensive lineman from Boston College. We spent a lot of time talking about Ozzie Trapillo. We spent some time talking about Drew Kendall before the draft, both Boston College offensive linemen. For obvious reasons, we discussed those guys. Doug Marrone was with BC last year. He's the O-line coach for the Pats this year. Bill O'Brien, Mike Vrabel, super tight, great friends. So when you look at Jack Conley, offensive lineman from Boston College, the guy that we didn't talk about, they land him as a UDFA. He is 6'7", 325 pounds. But it's not just his size. I mean, he's as big as Marcus Bryant, 6'7", 325. That's a big human being. But it's not just the size, and it's not just the connection to Marrone and Bill O'Brien, why I think Conley could make this team. It's also because he has a lot of versatility. He played left tackle. He played right tackle, but he also played right guard at Boston College. So he's played outside. He's played inside. He played both tackle spots, and he played right guard. So with that versatility with offensive linemen worth its weight in gold. To have the ability to move around the offensive line, I think that gives him a leg up on some of these other offensive linemen that will be in camp. It's going to be tough because you have a lot of offensive linemen, thankfully, this year. You do have some pretty good depth. You've got the fight, you've got the battle, you've got the Royal Rumble, you've got the Elimination Chamber at left guard. But, you know, when you look at this overall offensive line, you've got some pretty good depth, especially compared to last year, which was a disaster, made even worse by injury and Okorafor leaving the game for a season. So it's not a guarantee, far from it. But Conley, I think, has a shot. He's got a shot because of the connections. He's got a shot because of his size. He has a shot because of his versatility. Let's move on to Ben Wooldridge, quarterback from Louisiana. Now, it'll be interesting to see if the Patriots decide to carry three quarterbacks. I don't know what their plan is going to be, but it's obvious Wooldridge is going to have a chance. Wooldridge will have a shot because he right now is the third quarterback on the roster. You've got May, obviously. You've got Dobbs, and you've got Wooldridge. So Wooldridge will be interesting. Completed 66% of his passes, over 2,400 yards, 17 touchdowns, 6 picks for Louisiana. Not an overall strong arm. He doesn't chuck it. But it'll be interesting to see if he's somebody that is in the plans, or they just say, no, we'll just squeeze him into the practice squad because we don't think anybody's going to pick him up. I would probably lean towards the latter. I don't think he's going to make the 53. I think Wooldridge is more likely to be on the practice squad, emergency type option at quarterback. You also can see who gets cut over the next couple of months, who becomes available. You might snatch a guy up. So I would not count on Wooldridge making this roster. But a couple of things about him I just wanted to share. The Pro Football Focus grades, it's interesting. 84.9 was the Louisiana offensive grade. 83.4 was the Louisiana passing grade. Both of those numbers, both of those grades were 10th out of the draft-eligible quarterbacks. Now, of course, you could talk about level of competition. You can talk about a lot of different things, type of offense that they run. Just interesting that the offensive grade and the passing grade from Pro Football Focus both landed Wooldridge in the top 10 of draft-eligible quarterbacks. All right, I want to end on this guy. Efton Chisholm III. Not because I love the name. I'm sure you've heard a decent amount about Chisholm already. Wide receiver, Eastern Washington, a la Cooper Kupp. I'm not telling you he's going to be Cooper Kupp, but he really is the prototypical slot in a Josh McDaniels offense. Josh McDaniels loves guys that can work in short areas, gain separation quickly. You think about, Danny Amendola. You think about Edelman. And Chisholm, he has that to his game. He's not a supreme athlete. He's not as fast, for example, as Edelman was. But he's in short areas. He can drive defensive backs crazy. He can drive linebackers crazy. And so he's somebody that if you look at this offense historically with McDaniels, what he likes to have at the slot, Chisholm has a chance. Now, of course, Pop Douglas also could be the slot guy, and I think that's how I would write it down in Sharpie. I would think Pop is the guy to start the season, but I do give Chisholm an outside shot of making this team because of his ability to break loose at the line of scrimmage and get open quickly. There are some routes that you see him run in Eastern Washington that are almost, pretty much direct routes from the Patriots McDaniels offense. So the translation, you can see it from watching his time at Eastern Washington. You could easily just kind of plop him in with the Patriots. But of course, there's a lot of guys that we've said could play that role, and they don't end up playing that role. So I don't think it's a guarantee that Chisholm makes the roster. But he's an interesting player. We have to speak in relative terms when we discuss UDFAs. Again, the vast majority of these guys are not going to make a roster. Some of them will get to the practice squad. A few across the league will get a chance on a roster. So we have to keep that in mind. But Chisholm, he has as good of a chance as anybody to make the team because of the way he plays, the position he plays, and what Josh McDaniels wants out of said position. And the dude produced 120 receptions, over 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns. And as I mentioned before, comparing Rex Burkhead to Lan Larison, I kind of love looking at comparing size and weight in game to prior players because, again, I think it gives us a great idea as to how the staff feels about a certain player and how they envision using that player. And like I said, as far as Larison and Burkhead, I think you can make the same count. Again, aside from the athleticism, Edelman's a better athlete. He's faster than Chisholm. But just looking at the size, I mean, these guys are like replicas of each other. Julian Edelman was 5'10", $195. Edelman was 5'10", $198. Chisholm is 5'10", $195. So same height and separated by 3 pounds. So very similar size. A difference of 3 pounds. He's not a Julian Edelman. He's not a Jules athlete. But he's right around the same size as Edelman. And he's got that short area quickness that McDaniels looks for. So those are the UDFAs that I would really look at. I have my eyes on. I think they could have a shot at making this roster, some a better shot than others. And, whether it's because of position or style of play, even with the guaranteed money with Larison, the 175, I think carries a certain significance to it. Those are the UDFAs that I would be looking at. There are other guys that we could talk about, certainly, but those are the 6 guys that I kind of look at as we get ready for rookie camp coming up on Friday. Those are the 6 guys that I'm kind of honed in on. That's who I think have the best chance. I would not be surprised if a CJ Dupree makes the football team. Wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. I think they'll have that battle between he and Jaheim Bell. If they want to carry 3 tight ends, that's the battle. If you want to carry 4 tight ends, then Dupree's going to make the team. But maybe you want to carry 3 guys. They also have Westover on the roster, but I really think it comes down to Bell and Dupree. Don't forget to like. Likes mean the world to me. Click that thumbs up. It helps us. Don't forget to comment. That helps us as well. Don't forget to subscribe. Click that notify bell so you know when we go live. New episode drops. Subscribe. We're trying to hit 7,000 subscribers by mandatory minicamp. We got about a month to do it. I appreciate every single one of you for supporting this show, whether you watch it, listen to it, you comment, you subscribe, you go to Apple Pods and Spotify, and you comment, rate, and review. I appreciate every single one of you. We will be back on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern live. Until then, enjoy the rest of your hump day and be well.